Good morning, members. It is the appointed time and we have a quorum. I call to order the meeting of the panel on manpower. Item 1 on the agenda, information paper issued since last meeting. After the last meeting, a paper has been issued by the Secretariat. It has been put to the agenda on the 23rd of May for your reference. Item 2, items for discussion at the next meeting. The Secretariat has issued a list of outstanding items for discussion to members. That's paper CB-1 881-2025-01 and list of follow-up actions. That's CB-1 881-2025-02. The next meeting will be held at 10:45 a.m. on Monday, 23rd of June. There are 2 items for discussion. That's the implementation of the statutory minimum wage and the latest developments in the employment services of the Labour Department. If there are no objections, these will be the items for the regular meeting in June. So it's confirmed. Business of today, item 3, Hong Kong's Occupational Safety and Health (OSH) performance in 2024 and the government's follow-up on the Office of the Ombudsman's direct investigation report on the regulation of OSH in the construction industry. We welcome government officials from various departments for attending the item today. So let me introduce the officials. Mr. Vincent Fong, Deputy Commissioner for Labour. Mr. Wan Chi-ping, Assistant Commissioner for Labour. Dr. Wan Yun Kong, Occupational Health Consultant. Dr. Eddie Ng, Occupational Health Consultant. Mr. Ng Ho Wang, Chief Occupational Safety Officer. Mr. Murphy Yun Ji Lok, Chief Occupational Safety Officer. Mr. Clifford Chan Chun Yu, Labour Officer. And from the Development Bureau and the Buildings Department, we have Mr. Terence Lam, Principal Assistant Secretary, Works of Development Bureau. Mr. Alan Wong Chung Hua, Chief Assistant Secretary for Development, and Mr. Michael Pang, Assistant Director of the Buildings Department, and Ms. Wendy Leung Sham Yi, Chief Building Surveyor. Welcome all. Now, members who would like to speak, you may now press the button. Now I will start by inviting Mr. Vincent Fong, Deputy Commissioner for Labour, to walk us through the paper. There is also a PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, members. I thank the Chairman and the Secretariat for arranging today's meeting, and we welcome the time for us to explain the OSH situation for this quarter. That's our usual practice. We would brief members on the latest situation of OSH. And also, with the publication of the Ombudsman's reports, we would like to report to members our follow-up work on the report. That's why we also have colleagues from the Development Bureau and the Buildings Departments with us today to brief members on the report. Because in the report, there are recommendations for all 3 departments or bureaus. Now, by way of background, we have prepared a PowerPoint presentation to update members on the situation. Not all members have read the Ombudsman's report, so we would like to start by giving you some background. Now, concerning the overall OSH situation of Hong Kong in 2024, we will first brief members on the overall situation. Now, generally speaking, by way of figures, over the past 10 years, we have been making some steady improvements. Since 2015, And over recent years, concerning work accidents in the construction industry, there has been a mild decline in the trend. But still, one case is too many. That's why we will continue with our work. We thank the construction industry workers as well as the Occupational Safety and Health Council as well as other stakeholders for helping us in making the improvements. We are seeing a change in culture in work in the construction industry. Now, over the past 20 to 20 years, actually, the trend has been an improving one, but there is always room for improvement. Now, concerning OSH work, we adhere to several strategies. Now, there are 4 strategies, so to speak. On one hand, we will continue to conduct inspection and enforcement actions according to the ordinance. And second, publicity and education. We will not stop at the efforts. And also there were some updates last year concerning the education campaign. There were some targeted seminars or programs. Now last year, we considered that there were more accidents at the storage space of the Marine Department. So we conducted some inspection at the public cargo handling areas. And we have also sat down with the management of the Marine Department. Measures were implemented to improve the management of the PCHAs. And some publicity campaigns have been launched together with the Marine Department. We also involved workers in the union, as well as users of the public cargo handling areas. We brought to their attention some potential risks to prevent accidents from happening. We are also in collaboration with the FEHD. For example, heat strokes. Over the past 2 years, in particularly rural areas where it is more difficult to take shelter from the heat, the FEHD has purchased more equipment for the workers. More than 130 pieces of equipment were purchased so as to offer some shelter for workers when the weather is hot. And there are other partners, for example, the OSH Council, colleagues from the Building Department of the Development Bureau, the Logistics Department, and also other associations. We are setting up more platforms to enhance the awareness of OSH across the board. So this shouldn't just be the government's job. We need to drive a cultural change. Now, some specific examples on OSH. Paragraph 33 in the paper also mentioned this. Now, we have been working with the relevant trade unions of the scaffolding industry, as well as the OSH Council, to improve work safety at trussel scaffolding. Now, we adhere to the international standard that scaffolding workers must have obtained a certification before they are allowed to work. Now, we have also entered into a memorandum of understanding with the OSHC to offer suitable recognition to quality scaffolding contractors. Now, with the recognition, the quality of the trade has been enhanced, and in turn, the insurance sector is willing to offer a lower insurance premium for scaffolding operations. So with these measures, we have enhanced the working safety of the scaffolding industry while lowering the cost. Now about application of technology. There has been some discussions over the past few years concerning the 4S system in worksite. The Development Bureau will supplement on that in a moment. We are striving to implement the 4S Smart Site Safety System in various worksites. We're now studying deploying drones for supervision of work and gathering of evidence. Now the trial scheme has been generally completed. So in the second half of the year, we will invite members to inspect the efficacy of drone inspections. Now we are also seeking to digitalize the process of statement taking. We are using the OSH app more widely. So that's the first half of the documents on the latest situation in 2024. Now, second half of the paper is about the Ombudsman's direct investigation reports and the recommendations. Now, by way of background, it started 2 years ago when a direct investigation was conducted by the Ombudsman. It took quite some time to complete. The Labour Department cooperated with the Ombudsman's investigation fully, and multiple rounds of on-site inspections were conducted together with the Ombudsman. Now, after the investigation was completed, the Ombudsman commended our colleagues for our full cooperation, which allows them to have a full grasp of the situation so that pragmatic recommendations could be made. So since the investigation started in year 2022, the cases may seem rather dated. They are mainly from the period between 2013 and 2018. So the problems identified in those cases might have been rectified or being rectified recently. As mentioned by the Ombudsman in the report, the legislation and working guidelines have been improved and also more inspections have been conducted. So we thank the Ombudsman for working with us and giving us invaluable opinions over the past few years. Now, there are 4 major aspects in the report with some 40 recommendations. As I've mentioned, recommendations were made to both the Labour Department, the Buildings Department, and the Development Bureau. Now, for the Labour Department, recommendations include enhancing the effectiveness of enforcement, stepping up the monitoring of specific duty holders, enhancing the OSH of RMA works, and facilitating the circulation of OSH information. I think members here are very familiar with our work over the past 2 years. Even before the completion of the report, we have made corresponding improvements. Now, after a lengthy discussion, we have finally enhanced the OSH legislation in 2023 to increase the penalty level. Every year, we have updated 4 to 5 pieces of working guidelines or code of practice. We will continue with this direction this year. Now, in response to the recommendation made by the Ombudsman, we are deploying AI and other advanced technology more.
On stepping up publicity and promotion, at various radio stations, TV programs, or mobile applications and websites. We have put up a number of videos and uploaded some information. We have worked with various organizations. Let me give you an example. The Labor Advisory Council and the Federation of Labor Unions offer us with information, and we give them pamphlets so that they can distribute them to the workers to make sure that they are aware of the OSH measures. We have also been working with the OSH Council on prevention of heat stroke. I'm sure that you have watched a TV advertisement on it and listened to our media briefings before. We also have rolled out new measures for the trade to use. There are cooling vests for workers to wear during extremely hot weather, and there is great demand for such products. We will step up our supply. Regarding the recommendations of the Ombudsman, we accept all of them, and we propose to make improvements on areas such as workers' training, communication with workers, monitoring procedures, publicity and promotion, as well as the adoption of technology. As I mentioned, we have received a total of 40 recommendations. Most of them have to do with the Labor Department, but some of them have to do with other departments. Now I will ask the Buildings Department and the Development Bureau to supplement. I'd like to control the time. The Labor Department has spent 10 minutes on the presentation, but as both the Buildings Department and the Development Bureau are involved in the report, due to limited time, can the Buildings Department and Development Bureau spend perhaps 2 to 3 minutes on your part so that our members can start putting questions as soon as possible? Mr. Michael Jian. Chairman, I have to leave now. I have to go for the subcommittee on railways. Can I put my questions later? Okay, I think that members have read the report already, so please brief us very succinctly on your part. Buildings Department. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. I will briefly go through the recommendations that the Ombudsman have for us. In 2002, the Labor Department and the Buildings Department established a referral mechanism. That is, if contractors violate OSH-related legislations and if they are convicted, then we may initiate disciplinary action against them. There are two factors under the mechanism. That is, if the contractors, for a continuous period of 6 months, violate OSH-related legislations and were convicted. If 5 of such cases are involved, then the first condition would have met. Second, if the contractors violate OSH-related legislation and if they are convicted, and if fatal incidents are involved, then the contractor would have met the second condition. In the report, the Ombudsman have the following recommendations regarding the referral mechanism. First of all, the Ombudsman said that we have missed out some of the cases under the mechanism, and we've talked to the Labor Department to collect the relevant information for the cases that we have missed out on, and we have initiated disciplinary actions against these cases. The second recommendation is to ask us to improve the internal monitoring mechanism for the referral system. The third recommendation is that we should review this first condition, because only 2 cases met the first condition over the past 20 years, and the Ombudsman think that the mechanism is not deterrent enough. Since 2021, we have a mechanism on accident investigation. The Ombudsman asked us to review and strengthen the referral mechanism in collaboration with the Labor Department to enhance efficiency and effectiveness. The second recommendation has to do with our collaboration with the Development Bureau. By the end of last year, we promulgated a consultation paper on the relevant legislation. There are some proposals set out. The Ombudsman asked us to complete the legislative exercise as soon as possible. Let me talk about what we've been working on regarding the recommendations. We discovered 58 cases that we have missed. 22 of such cases have been referred to the Registered Contractors Disciplinary Board for disciplinary actions. Regarding the remaining 9 cases, we are consulting the Department of Justice for advice. Regarding the second recommendation, asking us to improve the internal monitoring system for case handling. We conduct such monitoring at the senior management meetings, and we have established some KPI on the time for handling each cases. Every month, the Labor Department gives us a monthly list of conviction cases, and we pledge to complete the investigation within 1 month time upon identification of fatal site incident cases relating to buildings worked. The second indicator is that within 2 months' time, we will consult the Department of Justice to see if there is sufficient legal basis for disciplinary actions. And if there is, then the case have to be referred to the disciplinary board within 2 months. The Ombudsman also asked us to review the Criterion 1 under the referral mechanism. To enhance deterrent, we propose to lower the threshold for disciplinary action in case of non-serious incidents so that deterrence effect can be enhanced. Ombudsman also asked us to enhance and step up collaborative investigation. Actually, starting from 2021, we already have a referral mechanism on cases where both departments have to conduct investigation against. We will work on collecting evidence and consider joint prosecution. When there are sufficient grounds that warrant us to seek DOJ's advice, we will try to seek their comments together. We will consider stepping up our collaborations. If we share the same witness, we may meet with them together, and we may also organize joint meetings to review the progress of investigation and share information. Lastly, on expediting the legislative exercise. Apart from improving the disciplinary procedures, we will enhance the penalty level and improve the registration system. Now, in terms of disciplinary hearings, we are going to increase the number of disciplinary board members and streamline the composition of the board to accelerate hearings. We also propose to increase the maximum fines for disciplinary actions from $250,000 to $400,000. And we also propose to allow multiple disciplinary sanctions for each charge, such as imposing fines alongside reprimands or removal from the register. Our goal is to submit the amendment bill to the Legislative Council in the first half of 2026. Now, in terms of improvement of construction site safety, as mentioned, we have this 4S starting from 1st of July. Last year, we implemented this measure. That is, when a superstructure plan is approved, we will impose an additional cost. If the construction cost is larger or higher than $30 million, we ask the contractors to make use of 4S if they use mobile electronic tower crane, and they have to put in place a mobile alert system. Starting from this year, that is the 1st of July 2025, we'll extend the requirement from superstructure to other types of works, including demolition, excavation, foundation works, and so on. Even if the requirements is not effective when the plans is approved, we're going to impose the conditions when the works is when the commencement date is approved by the relevant departments. We're also going to promote the relevant requirements of the 4S to the trade, and we're also going to inform them about the CITF. That's all for my presentation. Development Bureau, you have anything to add? Please be more succinct. Thank you, Chairman, members. I have a few PowerPoint slides to briefly inform members of our measures. The Development Bureau have been leading by example in public works contract to promote the construction industry to adopt good practices. We have adopted many different means to promote good industry practice. As you can see, we adopt measures in various areas on, say, tender awarding, contract conditions, adoption of technology, monitoring system over contractors, publicity and promotion, works design, site supervision, so on and so forth. The Development Bureau thanks the Ombudsman for giving us so many recommendations on how we can further improve construction site safety, and we have implemented a series of measures. I will use the following 3 slides to briefly talk about our measures. First of all, we've talked about the 4S many times. It is a very effective system to allow us to monitor high-risk activities remotely so that we can issue alerts immediately. When we implement 4S, we have made use of different ways to enhance site safety. For works project that is with contract sum higher than $30 million, they have to adopt 4S, and we like to promote the relevant system to private works project. As you can see, from 2024-25, we have worked on such promotion. I will give you more details when we have more time later on. I know that members are also very concerned about our monitoring system. For contractors that are on the approved list involved in serious site safety incidents, we have strengthened our supervision over them. We are concerned about the performance of our contractors. The last point on our slide, Ombudsman said that some contractors perform well in site safety because of good training. That's why we will continue to work with the OSH Council to share with the trade our good industry practices. Hopefully, the private sector will also adopt these practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Development Bureau. The floor is now open to members. The members on the list are Mr. Michael Tian, Peter Shiu, Shanghai Long, Dr. Chao Xiu-chung, Professor Chen Wing-kwong, Kingsley Wong, Kwok Wai-keung, Frankie Ngan, the Deputy Chairman, Ms. Lilian Kwok, Mrs. Tang Fei, Michael Lok, and myself. There is only one item on the agenda, so I will give you more time. 5 minutes, questions and answers included. Please be succinct. Mr. Peter Shiu. Thank you, Chairman. Now, we don't want to see even one accident at work. However, according to the report, year 2024 compared with the previous years, there is a decline in the number of fatal work accidents. So I thank the efforts of the team of the Labor Department and the other colleagues. I think you have done something right in terms of publicity and education. Now, according to the Deputy Commissioner, you are working along the directions of applying technology, stepping up inspection and enforcement and education. So I agree with the application of technology. About the use of drones, according to the legislation, there is some restrictions to the operation of drones in the urban areas because of the tall buildings in the urban areas. Now, if the drones are deployed by the colleagues in your department, they will be exempted from the restriction. But what about operation of drones by the private market? Do they have the exemption to use drones to monitor the safety compliance of workers, for example, wearing helmets and wearing harness? Now, inspection is very important. For large construction sites, can you tell us the workflow of gaining entry into the construction sites? Do you need to obtain consent or approval from the construction site management to get into the construction site? And do you have access to upper levels of the construction site? Now, about scaffolding, there were often accidents involving scaffoldings. Now, when the works involve scaffolding, application has to be made with the department. So how can you facilitate the compliance of this by small contractors? Deputy Commissioner, I can answer the questions in general terms, and then I will defer to Mr. Wang, the Assistant Director or Assistant Commissioner, to elaborate. Now we are deploying drones to gather evidence for prosecution and for investigation when accidents have happened. Now, Mr. Peter Shiu is right. We need to communicate with the civil aviation departments and the other departments to ensure that the use of drone is safe. In terms of inspections, all along we have been conducting surprise inspections. So we will not warn the construction sites ahead of the inspection, no matter of their scale of operation. Now, sometimes when the construction site management has a guilty conscience and they are aware that there's something inappropriate going on in the construction site, they would ask the operation to be stopped immediately when we enter the work site. So this is where drones can come in. Drones can take pictures and gather evidence before our entrance to prove our case. Now, about RMAA and minor works projects, we have a very close collaboration with the Property Management Authority. Now, for construction sites with or property management practices, we would also inspect the operations. Now, so for drones, you do not have to apply for exemptions before deploying the drones. Thank you. As mentioned by the Deputy Commissioner, when we came up with the idea to deploy drones to gather evidence, the CAD advised that we should publish a guidance note on the operation of drones in safety site management. So actually, for deployment of drones in urban areas where it is comparatively safe, we would have the exemption to use drones. So of course, we need to be mindful of the gap between the buildings and also privacy issues. So we will operate drones according to the guidance notes. Now, concerning the workflow of entering work sites for inspection, now there are a lot of strategies to deploy. For example, before entering the construction sites, we can observe the operation of the construction site from height, for example, on top of nearby buildings. So of course, afterwards, we would notify the construction site managers of our finding. And during inspection, the management of the construction site would be accompanying us because they are the persons in charge of the construction site. They are aware of operations involving danger in the operation, so they would be walking on the work site with us. And also, we would notify the property management of estates or buildings with RMAA ongoing and conduct the inspection together with the property management. Now, so you said that some information will be provided to you by the property management office. So I think maybe you need to set out the items or information to be provided to you by the property management office, because there are some indoor areas which you have no access to. Now, about using technology, you need to have a discussion with the CAD. There are some places in the urban areas where citizens cannot use drones because of privacy and safety concerns. So you need to work it out with the CAD to allow the trade to use drones as well. Next, Mr. Jesse Shang. Thank you, Chairman. Now, we have received a complete report from the Labor Department, the Buildings Department, and the Development Bureau on the figure of fatal work accidents in the construction industry in the past 10 years. The number has dropped. So this shows that the government's work in promoting OSH in construction industry is effective. But one case is too many in terms of work accident. So I have a question and a suggestion. I agree with Mr. Peter Shield that we need to apply technology to enhance OSH at work. So besides local workers, recently, Mr. Chris Sun has announced that in the next 3 years, some 10,000 non-Hong Kong workers will be imported to Hong Kong. There are certain trades where they are more likely to be non-local Hong Kong workers, for example, lift and escalator maintenance and so on. And accidents may happen. So for imported laborers, especially for those with a shorter work contract, how can you enhance the OSH for imported workers? Now, besides using technology, according to the administration's paper, it seems that you are focusing on giving the contractors the stake, for example, by issuing warnings or prosecuting them or imposing penalties on them. What about using carrots, for example, recognizing those who have done a good job? We need to recognize the good work done by contractors. Deputy Commissioner, thank you, Mr. Jesse Shang, for your questions. Now I will answer the question and defer the question to the Development Bureau for elaboration. We agree that we need to continue to apply technology. So we have been using drones and taking statements digitally. We also have the 4S safety system, and we are contemplating legislative amendments for applying technology. Now I can reassure the member, whether local or non-local workers, they need to undergo sufficient training and have obtained the relevant certifications before they are allowed to work. Because when accidents happen, it affects both local and non-local workers alike. In terms of accreditation schemes, we have various schemes under the Labor Department, the OSHC, and the Construction Industry Council. Every year, we share good practices with the trade. There are also competition and award ceremony for recognizing contractors who have a low accident rate with strong awareness of work safety among workers. We offer trophies and even cash awards. Larger developers also have their own internal awarding schemes in place. Now, if workers successfully rectified safety risks, they would be awarded by the employer. So we are trying to inculcate the concept that OSH is of utmost importance in the trade. Development Bureau. Now, in response to Mr. Jesse Shang's question about OSH for imported workers, like local workers, non-local workers need to obtain the green card before they report to work. And also, applicants under the labor importation scheme needs to have the 4S safety system in place. And also they need to provide safety briefing for the non-local workers imported. Now, concerning awarding the contractors with good OSH practices, now since 2022, we have the recognition scheme for safe work sites. Now, the scheme is for recognizing contractors or private developers with a good safety standard. And also for public works, there is a pay for safety scheme. An item under the pay for safety scheme is linked with the safety performance. Now, if the contractor of the public works performs well in terms of safety in the projects, they will be awarded a cash award. So this cash reward is for encouraging better safety practice by contractors.
Mr. Zhang Hailong, I know that the administration have a number of award schemes for different contractors. I think that we should have, say, ratings just like what we have for restaurants with Michelin stars. If the award scheme is more well recognized, then contractors will be more incentivized to improve their performance. By this, we will know which contractors have 0 accidents over the past decade. For example, Mr. Michael Tian, 5 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. First, I have to commend the government The roundtable since January last year has been asking the government to turn to metal scaffoldings instead of bamboo scaffoldings. The government asked the Public Works Project to use at least 50% of metal scaffoldings. The workers' union sent me a letter to commend me for our efforts. I hope that the Public Works Project will switch to metal scaffoldings altogether unless conditions don't allow for it. So I wonder if the government will consider it. How is the administration going to ask the private sector to make full use of metal scaffolding? When conditions don't allow, maybe we should allow for bamboo scaffoldings. Is the administration going to amend the legislation for it? Some safety auditors or examiners signed the form before they examined the work at height equipment. And this actually put the lives of workers at stake. We should not allow for such a behavior. I've checked the penalty. Anyone submits to the contractors any false reports or assessment reports, chairman commits an offense. Once convicted, they should be fined to $200,000 and imprisonment of 12 months. The Ombudsman in 2023 investigated a case. Similarly, a safety examiner signed the assessment form before the examination. The court handed down a fine of $7,000. I wonder if the fine was actually determined by the court or if the bureau issued a summons. I think that we should amend the legislation and increase the imprisonment term to 5 to 7 years and remove the relevant examiners from the list permanently. I just attended a OSH activity. They said that according to the government statistics, the fatal accidents relating to OSH amount to 200 in 2020, 234, 2023, 240, 224, 232. This is very shocking. There is no substantial decline in the number of fatalities, despite the efforts of the government. Now I have a request for the chief executive. I hope that someone will relay my recommendations. I hope that we will set a KPI for all works project-related departments so that we can reduce the number of fatal OSH incidents by 30%. From say 200 odd to 150 or 160. Thank you. Assistant Commissioner, please. Or rather, Deputy Commissioner. Thank you. For examiners who did not conduct any examinations before signing the assessments, I am also dissatisfied with such a behavior. The examples quoted by the Ombudsman are rather dated. I'm sure that Mr. Tian knows that in the past 1 to 2 years we have increased the penalty. In 2023, we amended the legislation. The courts hand down the fines. We don't issue any summons or fixed penalty notices. If we think that the penalty is too light, we will talk to the DOJ. Is the maximum penalty 12 months of imprisonment? Well, in 2023, we amended the legislation for serious cases. Under general duties model, the fine is $10 million and 2 years of imprisonment. For serious cases, the buildings department, the police along with my department, will initiate prosecution. For the case with Mira, we initiate prosecution alongside the police. For cases involving serious elements, the police may be involved, and manslaughter charge may be initiated against the relevant person. I'm asking about maximum penalty. I think that he was asking about a violation of OSH-related legislation and the advanced signing of assessment form. I was asking you to increase the penalty level for production of false documents. You were telling me about the outcome of previous cases, but they have nothing to do with the falsification of documents, because there could be serious consequences leading to such a behavior. Regarding the police's enforcement action against falsification of documents, I don't have such information. So please relay my recommendations to the police. Let's also address the question on KPI. We do have KPI. For accidents per 1,000 workers, we do have a KPI on the rate. We hope that we will have the figure dropped from 2021 29.1 to 26. I don't understand why you quote the figures with unit of per 1,000 workers. Thank you. In 2022 policy address, we set a KPI on the accident rate per 1,000 workers. That is, the number of accidents that we have per 1,000 workers. Our indicator is that hopefully by 2026, well, in the previous 5 years, the rate is 26.8, and hopefully by 2026, the accident rate per 1,000 workers will be lower than that. That is lower than 26.8. I can give you some updated figures. As at 2024, the average 5-year figure of accident rate per 1,000 workers is 27.4, and we are working towards the goal of 26.8. But in 2021, you had 263 fatalities, 2024, 232 fatalities. Can you give me the total figure instead of the accident rate? They are two different matters. What Mr. Tian was talking about, that is the 232 fatalities. They are the fatalities for OSH-related fatalities. Some of them pass away because of natural cause. For industrial fatalities, we have a total of 28 of them. For accident rate, that's not a fatality rate. The calculation methodology may be rather complicated. Maybe you can give us the formula you use to calculate the accident rate. Mr. Michael Tian, if you have further questions, please press the button for the second round. Mr. Chao Xuchong. Thank you, Chairman. I'm glad to see that in 2024, the total number of work fatalities have improved compared to 2023. The accident rate per 1,000 workers and the number of work fatalities dropped. The accident rate for construction industry has been declining rather substantially. The accident rate per 1,000 workers dropped from 27.6 to 24.8 in 2024. The number of work fatalities dropped from 20 to 14. I believe that's due to the efforts of the Labor Department. They have stepped up patrol and they have taken on board my suggestions to carry out special enforcement cooperation. And we've seen results. I hope that we will not see the figure rebound next year. I don't think that the Labor Department alone can improve the whole situation. I know that the Buildings Department has also been working on it. I hope that all public works supervisory departments can take part in improving the OSH in the industry. I'm sure that the overall figures will improve. And I hope that in the future, when we discuss OSH, we will also have the Buildings Department and the Development Bureau here. I have a few questions for the Buildings Department. How are you going to deal with the backlog of cases from 2015 to 2023? Do you have any progress made regarding the 50 omitted cases? What about those before 2015? The Ombudsman discovered 9 cases that have not been followed up on. Are you going to follow up on the omitted cases before the 2015? In paragraph 69, the Buildings Department gave us some KPIs that they have and the progress that they've made. Can you not further compress the process? Why do you only seek further information from the Labor Department when you receive the list of conviction cases? And when the DOJ say that there is sufficient legal basis, why do you need 2 months' time before you initiate disciplinary proceedings? I hope that you can expedite the entire process. My third question. I know that the Housing Authority and the Buildings Department has a referral mechanism established in 2002, but this is not mentioned in the paper. I wonder if the referral mechanism still exists. Is the Buildings Department still going to refer cases to the Housing Authority? The Buildings Department, Mr. Poon. Thank you. From 2015 to 2023, we have omitted a number of 58 cases, and I've reported on the progress. 32 of them may warrant disciplinary action. 22 cases have been referred to the Registered Contractors Disciplinary Board for disciplinary actions. And the board is going to handle the cases because each and every one of it is different. It's hard for me to tell you when the case will be closed. We have actually streamlined some of our procedures because previously one case is handled by one panel. However, currently, if 2 cases are if a single contractor is involved in 2 cases, then we let the same panel to handle them. Mr. Chow asked if we can expedite the work process. After we received the monthly list of conviction cases from the Labor Department, they are about all the conviction records of contraventions. As the Labor Department does not know about our procedures, so we receive the entire list. And that's why our colleagues have to screen out some of the cases. from the list to see if the persons on the list is the registered contractors and if the conviction involve construction or rather works project. So we think that the 1 month time is already a rather aggressive time pledge. After consulting the Department of Justice, we have to draft a charge sheet. And the DOJ may ask us to amend some of the wordings on the charge sheets, and we have to maybe go back and forth. According to our experience, when the DOJ determines that there is sufficient legal basis for disciplinary action, it usually takes around 2 months' time before we can initiate disciplinary proceedings.
方面嗰個轉介機制嗰方面呢，
Concerning the referral mechanism with the housing authority, in 2002, a referral mechanism was established involving the housing authority, the labor departments, and the development bureau. Now, we have sought legal advice back then. If contractors were registered under the building's ordinance, then these cases may also be referred to the disciplinary panel. So the referral mechanism has been running effectively. We will review its efficacy in due course when necessary. I don't have the specific statistics about the cases in the referral mechanism. Now, for cases before 2015, are you not going to follow them up anymore? Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Dr. Chow. Pre-2015 cases or cases occurring between 2015 and 2023, we have sought legal advice for most of the cases. Most of them, on the renewal application by the involved contractor, the cases have been dealt with already. So several rounds of renewal applications have already been received by the departments already. So the DOJ will no longer recommend proceeding with the disciplinary action. So concerning pre-2015 cases, we will seek further legal advice from the DOJ on whether we should follow them up. Professor Chen Wing-Kwong. Thank you. About OSH diseases. Now, occupational deafness is the most common types of OSH disease in Hong Kong. Now, despite the decline in number, there were still 160 occupational deafness last year, accounting for more than half of the total number of OSH diseases. So has the government reviewed whether there is sufficient safeguard for workers in noisy environments? Will the government urge the relevant industries to take better safeguard to prevent the disease? Now, I'm pleased to see that the government has done something on promoting mental health of workers. For example, the Joyful at Work Charter and Mental Health at Workplace Charter. Has the government reviewed the effectiveness of these programs, and will more incentives be provided to employers, for example, tax discounts, to encourage employers to create a more healthy environment for work? Now, with the changes in working environments and arrangements, will the government review the list of occupational disease and list mental health diseases as OSH diseases warranting compensation? Now, as the redevelopment work sites for the Prince of Wales Hospital, a worker has died from suspected heat stroke, it has caused concern. Now, in terms of updating the updates to the heat stroke warning or heat warning system and the heat stroke guidance, since there are no mandatory requirements under the legislation, how can the government ensure that the employers are following the requirements under the guidance? Thank you. Concerning prevention of heat stroke, just last week we have organized a press briefing together with the OSHC to brief the public on our work on prevention of heat stroke over the past 2 years. Now, in response to Professor Chan's questions, we conduct inspections at construction sites and work sites every year during summertime and urge employers to improve their heat stroke safeguards. Now, we have conducted 23,000 inspections last year with 1,000 warnings issued. Usually, the employers and the management were cooperative of our advice. Heat stroke is preventable. So, in addition to the new warning system and also publicity and new products, we have also collaborated with the Hong Kong Observatory to issue the hot weather warning. So we will continue to follow up on our measures to ensure better success in prevention of heat stroke. Chairman, allow me. Heat stroke doesn't only happen during summertime when there is a sudden increase in temperature and also poor ventilation at a work environment. It would also cause heat stroke. So this is a bit of a clarification here. We do agree. We will follow up on your suggestions. What about occupational deafness and occupational health in terms of mental health? Now, occupational deafness, every year we do offer education and publicity on prevention of occupational deafness. Now, together with the OSHC and the relevant organizations, we have launched a publicity campaign to remind workers to protect their hearing. Seminars and exhibitions were also organized and publications published to warn workers against the danger of occupational deafness. So we have been working together with the Occupational Deafness Compensation Board to offer workers with relevant information via mobile publicity vans. And also during routine inspection, our colleagues would remind the management to offer protective equipment to workers, and prosecutions would be initiated when there are contraventions. Now, seminars have been organized together with the OSHC. We also have the Mental Health at Work Charter with many organizations on board. Now, employers who have signed the pledge will have to take actions to protect mental health of workers. When a certain number of actions have been taken, they will be awarded the recognition of a mental health friendly organization. And also, we are going to award the Mental Health Friendly Organization Award this year. We will recognize organizations with good mental health measures, and that will also be an opportunity to share good practice and the benefits of good mental health at workplace with other organizations. Professor Chen Wing-Kwong also asked whether the disease would be included on the list of occupational diseases warranting compensation. Now, for that, we refer to the updates by the International Labour Organization each year, and also the standards adopted by the international bodies each year, where the new occupational diseases are added to the list. When we consider that there is sufficient evidence to include a disease on the list in Hong Kong, then we would do so. We have been following up on this matter all along. When there are evidence to include a certain disease on the list, we will propose it. Professor Chen, please be succinct. I was concerned about mental health only, but I appreciate the answer. You have done quite a lot in terms of mental health improvement. But how do you define mental health at work? And how do you define the interaction between the employers and the workers for better mental health at workplace? Now, stress is the most important factor leading to bad mental health at work. Is the employer imposing too much stress on or pressure on the workers? So maybe more experts or specialist doctors' opinions are needed to formulate a guidance note on improving mental health at work. So please make reference to Professor Chan's views. Mr. Kingsley Wong. Thank you. I thank the Labour Department for enhancing the definition for fatalities at work. Now the figure offers a clearer view on the number of fatalities at workplace. Now, I think in terms of OSH, the relevant departments, including the departments here today, should be involved, because that shouldn't just be the Labour Department's responsibility. Now, the Ombudsman's report recommends the Ombudsman's report serves as a comprehensive health check for the regime, so that's great. Now, in terms of enhancements to the tendering mechanism, now for some tender invitation, safety only accounts for a very low weighting, and more weighting is placed on price competitiveness. Now, I saw that there is a tender award with a very low safety weighting. Only 0.2 weighting was given to safety, and 0.8 weighting was given to price. So the full mark is 2 points, and you are selecting a tender with a 0.2 safety, 0.2 points on safety. So are you allowing contractors with low safety performance to win a contract? Now, I think our legislation and the regulations are comprehensive. It's just a matter of enforcement. For example, fatalities from falling from height. Actually, inspections are quite frequent. 35 ratification letters were issued, 12 of which are related to working at height. So, and inspections are frequent, but follow-up work is insufficient. So maybe instead of 35 ratification notices, you should ask the construction sites to stop operating after 10 notices are issued. In terms of court proceedings, among 9,000 cases or 9,000 convictions, only a few cases were fined $8,000 to $10,000. So the penalty is just there on paper, but not imposed. So we need to raise the penalty level. Now, there are two contractors, according to the reports, that over the past 6 years were convicted 77 and 66 times. That shouldn't be the case. On 30 or 40 convictions, their licenses should have been revoked. Now, I think the government has done a great job in revoking the licenses of certain poor performer. So it's really hard to fathom why two contractors being convicted 70 times were still allowed to operate. Now, that's all my questions.
副處長先啦。
Deputy Commissioner, I will ask my colleagues to supplement later on. First of all, we agree with what Mr. Wong said in the sense that the Ombudsman have conducted an overall check of our measures. The Ombudsman told us that they were not here to pick issues. They said that they wanted to work with us on the improvements. We actually brought them to the frontline construction sites, and we have submitted a lot of reports and papers for their scrutiny. I will ask the Development Bureau to supplement on the point about tendering on patrol. I will ask the Assistant Commissioner to elaborate. The examples and cases quoted by the Ombudsman are rather dated. I will ask the Assistant Commissioner to talk about our latest modes of patrol. Thank you. If we discover anything out of place during our patrols, we will issue improvement notices. And we do follow on these notices. 2 months upon issuance of these notices, we will retrieve the file, and the relevant colleagues will go to the site and to see if the contractors have made any improvements in accordance with the improvement notice. During the next patrol, if we see any same problems arising, we initiate prosecution immediately. We keep patrolling these sites until the mistakes have been rectified. Now we are improving our internal guidelines. For individual sites that are subject to multiple improvement notice without any improvement, we're going to escalate our modes of patrol. We may conduct comprehensive and in-depth patrols. We may send more staff to the site to enhance the deterrent effect. The Development Bureau will talk about the tendering. Thank you, Chairman. The Ombudsman the examples quoted by the Ombudsman were rather dated. They were from 2007 to 2020. The Development Bureau has been reviewing, improving our tender evaluation mechanism and management system of contractors. If contractors' performance is not satisfactory, we will not allow them to submit any tender. In November 2020 and July 2023, we have already improved our tender evaluation mechanism. For contractors that are involved in serious cases of accidents, we will suspend them from submitting any tender again. If there is any systemic flaws in the contractors, we suspend the contractors from putting tender to any of our works projects. For contractors that submitted the tenders before we suspend their qualifications, we will still disregard them. The cases quoted by the Ombudsman were rather dated, if I may stress again. Starting from November 2023, we have introduced a plus or minus mechanism for contractors in the past 15 months. If they have involved in any serious cases, we are going to deduct their technical scores. And that will have a substantial effect on whether they are going to win the bid. And in January 2025, we have improved the safety ratings between contractors with we have improved the safety rating system so that the difference between contractors with better safety performance and with those with poorer safety performance will be more apparent. Mr. Kingsley Wong, well, because you have overrun, I will perhaps ask the Buildings Department to briefly talk about the penalty. The speaker is off mic. If the penalty handed down by the court is too light, we will definitely talk to the DOJ and consider appealing against the case. Mr. Kwok Wai-keun. Thank you, Chairman. The overall number of accidents may have dropped, but because life is precious, we should not be complacent. We may think that we can avoid accidents by just being more careful, but I think that we should work harder to improve our protections for our workers. Despite that, I still commend the efforts of the administration, because if not for them, the number of accidents may even be higher. I know that the administration has done much to suppress the number of accidents, but according to the paper, I discovered a few issues. With more patrols, there will be more improvement or suspension notices issued. We look forward to a day when more patrols are conducted, fewer notices are issued. But it seems that the reality is not that. And I know that given the fiscal deficit, the administration is going to limit the growth of civil servants. And I wonder if that will have an impact on the number of patrols that the administration is going to conduct. The Ombudsman said that the patrol system is not digitalized enough, because if we adopt more technology, then our data collection would be more efficient, just like what we're doing with charging vehicle owners and drivers with illegal parking. The trade focuses on CDM, and that's what the CIC has been promoting. That's about distinguishing the division of work and the responsibilities of owners, contractors, subcontractors, and workers. Has the administration looked into the CDM? I wonder why the relevant system has not been implemented. I'd like to hear from the Development Bureau and the Labor Department. Chairman, I still have quite a number of questions. For workers who die on duty, the administration said that some of them pass away of natural cause. Although we're not like Japan, where people overwork, do we have any cases of workers dying from overworking? Work injury rehabilitation scheme. I'd like to follow up on that. For contractors who don't meet the OSH-related requirements, and if they have poor performance, then they should not be allowed to submit tender to public works project. But should we not ask the contractors to set aside an item in their cost breakdown for OSH? Due to limited time, if you've put too many questions, then I will ask the administration to just choose 2 to 3 to answer. Deputy Commissioner, there are quite a number of questions. If I may stress a few points, we have over 200 fatalities. Some of them may pass away of natural cause, but our colleagues together with the hospital authority look into each and every of such cases. If we suspect that the workers don't die from natural cause and if we think that they pass away while working on duty, we will still account for that. On resource allocation, we undertake that we will not reduce the number of patrols that we conduct, and we will also not reduce our resources allocated for publicity and promotional campaigns. In a recent public event, I said openly that we have not sacrificed any of our efforts on promotion of prevention of heat stroke at work. And we also have a subsidy scheme for various heat stroke prevention products. Assistant Commissioner, please be very succinct. Thank you. Mr. Kwok just talked about digitalization. We are working on it. We have drones. We also have an e-statement application. Because when our colleagues collect evidence, they have to take statements from various stakeholders, and they usually rely on pen and paper. When we have this new application that will expedite the process of enforcement, in 2023, we have engaged in IT contractors to look into our intranet. Lastly, the Development Bureau. A short reply, please. Thank you. On construction design and management, CDM, that aims to improve the construction work safety, and that was implemented in 2006. In 2016, we improved the guidance notes, and for works project that cost over 500 million, they have to adopt this construction design and management. We have been working with the CIC in 2022. Well, in order to promote the CDM in the public and private sector, the CIC in May 2025, they have implemented a pilot scheme to engage the private contractors and works project. Well, on the pay for safety scheme, in 1996, we already have this system to make sure that the contractors don't have to include the OSH-related cost in their budget. In 2013, we have been encouraging contractors with good performance in OSH-related areas with cash bonus. And we propose to extend the scheme.
Thank you. What about over-session at work and the pilot rehabilitation scheme for employee injured at work? Please supplement the information after the meeting. Mr. Frankie Ngan, Deputy Chairman. Thank you. 3 questions. First of all, I recognize the work of the Labor Departments and the Development Bureau on improving OSH in terms of inspection, enforcement, and publicity and education and deployment of technology. As the Deputy Commissioner said just now, to achieve OSH, we need to foster a culture of safety in the business. I think we have been doing quite well in terms of education, and we are applying a lot more technologies nowadays. So can we launch a far-reaching and comprehensive publicity campaign just like that for prevention of scams in order to nurture a better culture? Now we have the 4S labeling system and also the point system for safety at work. So how wide are the scopes of these two programs? Now it's rarely touched upon at the panel on manpower and the panel on development, so I would like to know more about these two schemes. Deputy Commissioner and then the Development Bureau. There are always new measures to be launched, and we are constantly updating and reviewing guidelines and codes of practices. Now with the advancement of technologies, with time, there are new machineries and equipment. So to ensure safety at work, we are reviewing the new workflow and involving these new equipment. So whenever there are Expo in relation to construction technologies, we would send colleagues to learn the latest knowledge. Now we have also just organized the last iteration of OSH Innovation Exhibition together with the OSHC with some 10,000 visitations. So we are not scringing on resources as well. We are deploying more resources to the OSHC for OSH promotion. Now in terms of publicity, there are more and more ethnic minority workers at construction sites. So we are collaborating with the Home Affairs offices to reach out to more non-ethnic ethnic minority workers to spread the message. Development Bureau, Mr. Lam. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Ngan. Now we emphasize that the Development Bureau is very willing to discuss the matter of safety at construction sites with council members. We value your input a lot. Now about the 4S labeling system. Now this program started in May 2024. So for construction sites which we have verified to have adopted the 4S scheme, a label would be issued to be put up at a conspicuous place in the construction site for the benefits of our inspections. Now by May 2025, 550 construction sites have been awarded with the label. We encourage construction sites which are not part of the scheme yet to enroll under the scheme. Now about the frontline personnel safety performance rewarding scheme, that is a scheme implemented by the OSHC. There are suggestions from the trade that there should be a regular program to gauge the safety performance of frontline personnel. Now, since the launch of the program in last April, some 600 construction sites have participated. I think Mr. Frankie Yan would like to know more about the record of frontline personnel, whether points have been deducted and whether improvements were made afterwards. Now, the program just started in April this year. Some 600 construction sites have signed up. a small number of frontline personnel have already been given 15 points. And the OSHC is now offering these frontline personnel refresher courses. So we hope that more and more construction sites will sign up under the scheme. Thank you. Now in the future, I hope that there will be regular reports to members about the figures of the program. Ms. Lillian Kwok. Thank you, Chairman. Now I really agree that your colleagues have been doing a lot in the past 3 years to improve the OSH situation. But I also think the Ombudsman's report is pragmatic. Problems have been identified. If we can continue to improve and work on these problems, the accident rates will be further lowered. And this is something that I look forward to seeing. Now, some follow-up matters. There's one thing that I have been asking for several years. That is the CDM, Design for Safety in Construction Industry. Now, there are guidance notes and directions already, but actually in 1992, the EU has already designated what safety designs must be adopted in construction sites. And we are just beginning to embrace the concept through guidances, or it is not mandatory. Now, in February 2025, the Legislative Council has published a research report concerning OSH. I refer you to that report on how we can more widely adopt design for safety. The report mentioned by how much Singapore and the UK were able to lower the accident rates by adopting the standard. So I hope you can refer to that report and make further improvements. Now about mental health at work, which is also mentioned by my colleague. There are several thousand or 2,000 of accidents at work cases, and there are 14 fatalities. Most of them are in the construction site setting. So did you investigate the underlying causes? I think most of them are related to human errors or negligence, but how many of these negligence arose out of their poor mental health? Now, when fatal cases occurred, how many cases were investigated by the coroner? And some suggestions. I know you are working very hard already, but I think you need to classify various construction sites into tiers. Some construction sites are of higher risk. If there are tiers of risk, it would make the advice or guidances to be issued by safety officers more clear. So 3 questions about design for safety and risk tier. I will take the last question first. Concerning risk evaluation, the main principle is a risk-based approach. That with the help of technology, we can conduct a more accurate risk assessment. We now have the 4S labeling scheme, so we can make a comparison between work sites under the scheme and outside the scheme. If there is a higher performance in terms of safety, then we can deploy more resources to construction sites without the 4S label. Now, for construction sites with repeated offenses, we will also deploy more resources to tackle the risk. I would defer to Dr. Wong to talk about mental health. I think Ms. Kwok was talking about fatal cases. Now for fatalities, most of them are not work accidents related. Now the OSHC has conducted a study several years ago. Many of the fatal cases, some 70% of them, were resulting from cardiovascular diseases. There were some case analysis done to find the underlying factors contributing to the deaths. It was found that for some cases, the working hours were too long. For most of the cases, there were underlying disease on the part of the workers. So a conclusive finding was not reached on the actual link between working hours with the deaths. Now, there are various factors, for example, gender and life habits, as well as diet. So it is impossible to draw a link between the deaths with the work conditions and mental health conditions of the deceased. A brief reply from the Development Bureau. Chairman, besides deaths, I would also want to know whether investigation has been conducted, whether the work injuries were related to mental health. Dr. Wan, and then the Development Bureau. For each death, we do conduct an investigation on the link between the deaths and the work environment. Would work stress be a contributing factor? So the investigating doctors would offer advice and comments to the deceased families and the employers concerning that. Development Bureau, a brief reply. Now, concerning the work of the Development Bureau and the OSHC in the recent years, now in November 2022, a reference material was issued by the Development Bureau. In April 2023, the OSHC has conducted a training course on design for safety. Afterwards, during the Occupational Safety and Health and Construction Industry Safety Week, the OSHC organized a seminar attended by the industry. Now, in July last year and May this year, pilot schemes were implemented to encourage private developers to adopt safety designs. So our objective is to create an ambience in the industry that design for safety is beneficial. Can I have 30 seconds, Chairman? First of all, emotional health is very important. In future cases, I don't think you have these statistics now. You didn't gather these data in the past. Now with AI and also with questionnaires, can you collect data on emotional health? Now with AI, you can analyze risk better. So you should make use of the statistics better to award tiers to construction sites pertaining to the risk and also the measures to be taken. That's my suggestion. Please refer to the members' suggestions. Mr. Tang Fei.
Thank you, Chairman. As mentioned in the electrical paper, the OSH-related ordinance was passed, but there was no substantial improvement. I was a Bills Committee of the OSH ordinance, and I feel defeated because I don't see any significant improvement. I support the adoption of technology to enhance monitoring. Because if not, we wouldn't be able to figure out whose responsibility it is for the accidents. Now we have drones, we have CCTV. It's easier for us to collect evidence. However, will the contractors have to bear a considerably more cost? Or is it the case that the IT equipment is very cheap? Now, on the voluntary health insurance scheme, for policy makers, they have to declare if they have any OSH-related disease. For workers in construction industry, they may have to pay perhaps a higher premium because they are subject to a higher risk. And as a result, these workers may be reluctant to take out insurance under the VHIS. Do the workers have such concern? Lastly, I think that the administration should look into including emotion-related illness into the list of OSH disease. The government said that they make reference to international standards. It seems that very few countries have included mental or emotional-related disease into the list. Should the government engage experts into assessing whether we should include the emotional disorders resulting from the industries they're in as a type of occupational disease? Deputy Commissioner. Thank you. I will ask Dr. Wen to supplement afterwards. It's true that workers from all industries may suffer from emotional disorders. A few weeks ago, we had a motion debate on the relevant topic. The Secretary said that emotional disorder may arise from different situations. Even when people are faced with the same scenario, people may have different reactions to it because of their gender, their experience, their age. I will ask the Dr. Wen to elaborate. I'd like to talk about the cost of adoption of technology. Technology takes up a very small portion of the cost borne by the contractors. The Development Bureau does have a series of subsidy schemes to help small and medium contractors procure equipment and technology to enhance occupational safety and health. Development Bureau, Mr. Lam, thank you. Under the premise of life is precious, we have a number of schemes. 4S take up 1% of the total contract sum usually. That's about public works projects. For private work projects, we encourage the contractors to make use of 4S. We have this CITF. And contractors may be granted a subsidy of $7.5 million. We encourage contractors in the private sector to procure technology to improve OSH. We have extended the scope to include assistance system. For rental of equipment, we have included that in November last year, and hopefully these contractors, when they lease these equipments, will be subsidized. For high-risk workers taking out insurance under VHIS, will their premiums be higher? Well, because that's about employee compensation, it's not under our purview, I will relay Mr. Tang Fei's comments to our relevant colleagues. Mr. Luk Chung Hong. I'm concerned about the OSH issues in the construction industry. Over the past 6 years, I've looked at the number of contraventions. The fine ranged from $8,000 to $10,000. As a chairman of Bills Committee of the OSH bill, I know that the penalty has increased, but it seems that there is no improvement. I find that regrettable. I think that we do need a system to solve the issue. I think that the court has been very lenient on contractors who contravened the relevant ordinance. 2 contractors have violated regulations 77 and 56 times. I wonder how many appeals the administration has lodged to enhance the deterrence effect of the penalty. I know that we have judicial independence. I do think that some judges are being too lenient. For contractors that have committed multiple violations, we have to suspend them. I know that there are CBA licenses. Should we bar contractors who have violated regulations multiple times from submitting tenders or revoking their licenses? Because their licenses are very valuable. For occupational disease, some employers don't make a report within 14 days. And some workers, because they are afraid of having their insurance premium raised, don't report the occupational injury either. So how many employers actually are late in terms of their report? I downloaded the OSH 2.0 mobile application. Should we include a function to allow employers to make a report online? Because some of them may find it too complicated and cumbersome to report occupational injury of their employees. Should we allow them to make a report via the mobile application to protect the interests of the workers? Because some workers only found that their injury was resulted from occupational accidents sometime later, after their onset. Deputy Commissioner, I thank Mr. Luk for leading the scrutiny of the bill back in the days. We've monitored the latest progress. There is an issue that is hard for us to cope or solve. We have multiple types of prosecution. Sometimes we initiate prosecution on the scene and we take them to the court. And because the case is not that serious and because the defendant pled guilty, the court handed down usually a very light sentence or fine. The second type is a defense is a indictable offense. The fine can be as high as $10 million and 2 years of imprisonment. This type of case takes a long time. Apart from the Labor Department, other law enforcement agencies also initiate a prosecution against the same contractors. The DOJ and the court usually take a holistic approach in evaluating the case. But so as of now, we don't have any cases that have been convicted on indictable offense. If we find any penalty to be unreasonable, we engage the DOJ to see if we should lodge any appeal. I will ask the Development Bureau to further elaborate on the report of occupational illness or injury. I will talk to my colleagues to see if we should include the function into the application. What about the tiered mechanism for contractors? Development Bureau, please. Thank you. I believe that you were talking about the approved list. For contractors with poor performance, we can we can suspend them from tendering for public works project. From 2022 to 23, we have reviewed our mechanism. In July 2023, we established this new rule. That is, if contractors have not been issued with improvement or suspension notices, we still ask the contractors to go through an independent assessment. Hopefully, by this, we can improve their their construction site safety. The meeting was supposed to end at 12:45. There are still members who would like to put questions. So I will extend the meeting by 15 minutes. After Dr. Lai Tong-kwok has spoken, I will draw the line. Dr. Lai Tong-kwok. Thank you. In the Ombudsman report, it is said that many qualified persons did not fulfill their obligations in examining the high-risk equipment. They signed the form before conducting any assessment. I wonder how many such competent persons you have prosecuted. Apart from finding these competent persons, I wonder if any of them have been imprisoned. I know that you can charge the persons with the production of false information. You can also charge the contractors. And the penalty can be as high as $400,000 if the contractor is convicted. I'd like to know more about such information. In the Ombudsman report, they made a note. They said that the Form 5 that you use is too simple, because the competent person only have to include whether the equipment is up to standards. They don't have to put down what assessment they have conducted to reach such a conclusion. So I wonder what you have done in this regard. And have you seen any competent persons pre-signing the forms during your recent patrols?
Deputy Commissioner, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Lai, for your question. Now, as an overarching principle, whenever there is an accident, we will not just focus the prosecution on a type of persons. From foremen to management and competent persons, or even negligent frontline workers, we may prosecute them if evidence can be found. Say, for example, in 2022, there was a toppling of tower crane incident as the Anderson Road site by the Aggressive Construction Engineering Limited. Not just the main, secondary, and tertiary contractors, even competent persons were prosecuted by us. So we would look at all the legislations carefully. When certain types of persons are found to have violated the law, they will be prosecuted. Mr. Wan. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Lai. Now, Mr. Lai mentioned about the issue with the Form 5. In early May, we have conducted a territory-wide random check among the competent persons in Hong Kong. The operation lasted 2 weeks. So during the 2 weeks, we have visited various construction sites to check the Form 5 of these construction sites to identify irregularities. Now, several cases have been caught, and we are following up on these cases. Now, when there are sufficient evidence, besides the Labor Department's prosecution on the contractor and the competent persons, we will also refer the cases to the police for criminal investigation. Any follow-up questions? After you have done the job, you need to publicize your investigation with the trade, so that the relevant persons will be warned that they need to comply with the law, and they will be caught otherwise. Thank you, Mr. Lai, and now it is my turn. Many members have mentioned that we have enhanced the penalty for OSH contraventions to $10 million in maximum. However, since the amendments, there were very few cases where indictable offences were imposed. There may be only 1 or 2 cases. So it seems that we are not using this tool. Some wonder whether the threshold for an indictable offence is too high, which weakens the deterrence effect. It was mentioned in the Ombudsman's report that the safety performance of minor works were very poor. Some were essentially non-existent. So there were recommendations that the minor works should also be included in the reporting system, so that the Labor Department would conduct inspection on small projects which last less than 6 weeks, involving less than 10 workers. So will you adopt this recommendation by the Ombudsman? 3, Buildings Department. You are actually the department with the power to tackle the most egregious offences, because only you have the power to deregister the contractors or refuse to renew the license of poor performers. You can basically strip the offenders of the business, and the $10 million penalty is very powerful. But I think the Buildings Department has not done a good job in terms of taking the contractors up to task. There has been some improvements because you have refused to renew the license for a contractor recently. So in terms of the Building Department's efforts to follow up on the recommendation made by the Ombudsman, do you have sufficient resources and manpower to follow up on the recommendations? Thank you, Chairman. On the first question, when we amended the OSH ordinance in 2023, there were a wide range of proposals. It's like the Chairman said, we added an indictable offence which is punishable by $10 million and 2 years imprisonment. There were even some controversies about the severity of the punishment. And besides that, we have also reviewed the penalty levels under the principal ordinance and the regulations. Many of them have been enhanced. And we have accepted members' views to a large extent after the scrutiny process. So whether it was the indictable offense or the more ordinary offenses, all the penalty levels have been enhanced. So we would like to send a message to the court that the court should consider an appropriate penalty, given the enhancements of the penalty. If we are still dissatisfied with the penalty imposed, we don't rule out the possibility of filing an appeal. On minor works, if we need to gain entry into indoor areas to inspect minor works, there is agreement with the Property Management Authority that we would be notified of these cases. Now, we receive some 1,000 notifications each year. Now, about truss-out scaffolding. The relevant workers must have obtained a certification issued by the Construction Industry Council, that is the so-called purple card or the gray card. And we want to make it easier for scaffolding contractors to take out insurance schemes. So we are working with the Development Bureau as well as the CIC to promote the idea. And the next step will be further developing the reporting system. Mr. Wan? Just like the Deputy Commissioner said, concerning minor works, we have done a lot of work. For example, we have updated the codes of practice for scaffolding work and increased the qualification for doing such works. And also, we have more clearly defined how the work should be supervised. The supervisor must not be involved in the scaffolding work itself. The sole duty of the safety supervisor is to supervise the safety of scaffolding work and ensure that the workers are wearing the harnesses. I understand that, but would you consider accepting the recommendation made by the Ombudsman and classify minor works as a reportable work? So I hear that you will study the suggestion further. Now, the buildings department. Concerning the referral mechanism with the Labor Department, we have stepped up the collaboration in that we would take the initiative to obtain information from the Labor Department for serious offenses and consider punishing the contractors. Now, starting from 2020, whenever there are serious accidents, we would be notified by the Development Bureau and the Labor Department so that we can consider taking actions in terms of disciplinary actions or deregistering the contractors. Now, about the contractors registration system, we have enhanced the system in that whenever there are fatalities, whether the contractors are convicted or prosecuted, when the contractor applies for a renewal of the license, the case will be referred to the Contractors Committee for review. At least one authorized persons must have passed the assessment before a renewal would be granted. We have applied this mechanism on cases like aggressive construction engineering, and we will continue to enhance the mechanism to strengthen regulation. Now, there are 2 members in the second round, 2 minutes, questions and answers included. Mr. Michael Tan. Chairman, I hear a lot about enhancing penalty, but it's all on contractors. But I think the government has been dodging my question on regulation on competent persons. $10 million and 2 years imprisonment. If there is deliberate withholding of information or other offenses involving competent persons, why are you not stripping their licenses for a lifetime? They are signing their names on the paper without conducting the examination. For these unscrupulous professionals, what is the punishment for them? Now, about OSH, OSH includes industrial and non-industrial accidents. So industrial accidents only comprises part of the picture. So the figure you gave me just now is about industrial accidents and fatalities. I'm asking about the overall figure. Now, when I talk about life, I count them one by one. I don't know why you are counting lives in the sense of percentage. Now, if there is no objection, I will extend the meeting by another 15 minutes for the administration to give a succinct reply. Deputy Commissioner. Thank you, Chairman. If you look at Annex 2 of the paper, Annexes 1 and 2, the figures represent the situation in all trades, not just industrial sectors. Now, about the issue of competent persons, there are many types of competent persons. Now, simply put, if criminal elements are involved, we will definitely alert the police. For deregistering the competent persons, according to the cases, it will be referred to various authorities. Now, if a competent person approves the case without checking it, will the building departments cancel the license of the competent persons? I just want a simple answer. Deputy Commissioner. Now, in response to Mr. Michael Tian's question, for competent persons, over the past few years, when falsification or dereliction of duties were identified, we took the initiative to refer the cases to the registration bodies. But you don't have the power to cancel the license. Now, if the licensing bodies take no action, then the competent persons would be fined. Well, that sounds ridiculous. We would refer the cases to the professional bodies, and an assessment panel would be formed. But those licensing bodies are not regulated by the government. So what if they take no action? So these bodies would take an objective assessment on what the punishment should be. Well, deliberate withholding of information is a crime. That's ridiculous. Now, if concerning Mr. Michael Tan's question of whether there is a mechanism to deal with competent persons who lie, please supplement information to him.
Mr. Chao Xue-cheng, thank you. I'd like to talk about improvement of the notification mechanism for minor works project. For minor works projects, the contractors only have to notify the administration about the accidents after it has happened. According to the government's paper, it is said that the administration is looking into improving the mechanism and assessing the feasibility of implementing it given the resources that they have. I wonder how many cases was reported by the property management service provider voluntarily. Deputy Commissioner. We never rule out the possibility of amending the legislation. We just want to do it step by step. As I mentioned, over the past 2 years, we have invited all property management companies to participate in the notification mechanism. Regarding trestle scaffoldings, we have put in place new requirements, asking frontline officers to obtain certain certificates before they can carry out the duties. Assistant Commissioner will supplement with some figures. Regarding figures on notifications, well, in 2024, we received about 5,000 referrals from the property management companies. Compared to 3 years before, we only have, say, 1,000 referrals each year. So through the PMSA, we have received notification of trestle scaffolding works. We have stepped up also our patrols to ensure the safety of these workers. While all members have put their questions, they have given the administration many invaluable comments and advice. We share the same goal. We want zero accidents at construction sites. I thank the representatives from the administration. Last agenda item, any other business? There being no AOB, meeting adjourned. Thank you.